Boom! Recording in progress.
I like that.
Episode 9. This is our last single-digit episode.
That's kind of crazy. That means we're in our third month
Yeah,
of
this would
doing this.
be. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of crazy. Seems like a long time, but it's not really.
Yeah,
I
it did
realize that
kind of fly
like more
by.
as I get older, you know what I mean? Shit goes by so fast. Like I have a kid that's 4. That doesn't even seem like it makes any sense. I feel like I just kind of jumped ahead.
Yeah, that's true, man. Yeah, shout out to Mac, 4 years old. But I think that well, when we started the first episode is the only episode that doesn't have a thumbnail, and I think it should just maybe we can make a thumbnail for it in the future. Or we just
We
can
didn't have a
always
thumbnail for
that
the
way.
first one.
No, it's just like a picture of just like one of the YouTube suggested thumbnails, and you're like, and I'm like, I
Oh,
have
really?
my hand up in like a bunch of shit. I always have my hand up, like raising my hand to contribute in the classroom.
I didn't know that.
Yep, no thumb, and it's still the highest. It's the highest viewed pod to date because it was the first one. Because people were
Oh
probably
yeah,
like,
people are
"What
like,
the
oh,
fuck?"
what are these guys doing? Like I
That's
remember
always the
running to
case.
my grandmother after a few episodes, and I think you must have been posting online about the episode coming out. She's like, "How many of these things are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Nanny, this is forever."
This is that forever money, Grandma. We're trying to get that cake. How are we gonna monetize the channel with only 3 episodes? Consistency. Episode every week, clips every day. Yeah.
Man, when we can get back together in person, I was thinking of the coolest like vibe we could have if we set up the podcast. I would remember the canopy that I have, like the uh, tent thing. Like we could
Yeah.
set up in there and like film outside. The girls are having a bonfire behind us, roasted marshmallows and stuff. Occasionally, Jay walks in to roast a weenie.
Oh
Pops back
man,
in.
if Jay could roast his wiener on camera, that would be fun, entertaining, and also sexually enticing.
Suggestive.
Yeah.
Can, can people go for runs together? I need to start my cardio game up, and you run a lot. I worked out today and I was like, oh, I felt great. And I was like, damn it. Like I used to have this energy every day. You know what I mean? Like I used to work out. I would not take break days for like a few years there. You know what I mean? Where it was just like every single day. And now I like don't have that like positive, like I obviously have other things that feed positive energy into my life, but like that was just such a like essential part of my day for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And now like when I like a couple months ago, I was on like a good streak working out, like, only missing, 2 days off a week. And I felt like crazy and like so much better. Like, you don't like pick something up and you feel like, oh, my back, you know what I mean? Like you just like your body's tuned in. I need to get back there, but I want to start running because my lungs are garbage. And
no, definitely. I think that I don't think there's any issue with us running together. If you would like to jog with me, I feel like I need to run because it's like I'm a dog. When it's like, well, you let the dog run around in the backyard, tire itself out. Otherwise, it's going to be losing its mind depending on what kind of dog it is. But I know for a fact my dog Willie, he needs it. He needs more exercise. I think he's limited in the backyard right now. But I feel like I have so much energy in the morning, and it's like I kind of run more so for the sake of just like tuning out, listen to music. I don't think I would be able to run if I couldn't listen to music. I don't really even think I necessarily do it for the health aspect as much as I just do it for like the enjoyment of just like
it gives you something. Like that's what, and it's funny that you said that you couldn't listen to it with music. I remember so many times like I found the gym was like a weird social atmosphere where like people are, hanging out and being friends, but there's also like this competitive kind of aspect to it sometimes, depending on who you're dealing with. And but I always had my headphones on and I wouldn't talk to anybody most of the time. But then like if my phone died, I would just keep them on.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like,
you know what I mean? I was there to tune out, and like that's why, like I never understood the people that go to the gym and they just be like chatting it up for like 20 minutes next to the bench. I'm like, You're in my way for one. Two, also,
Yeah.
what are you doing? This is not why you came here.
Yeah, I think that like what, for example, I thought I saw somebody that I knew. I'm not going to name any names, but good friend at the dam the other day, and I went back actually for the like I think it was Thursday. It was nice out. It was sunny, and I already went for a run in the morning. And it's like we're limited to activities right now anyway, and obviously for the most part I'm in the house, so whether I'm uploading a clip from the podcast here and thinking of like a description, or like working on a song, or like obsessively researching like crypto related shit trying to get rich, I'm gonna eventually run out of things to occupy myself with, and I hate being bored. I mean, I literally cannot. I just feel like there's always something that I could do, and if I have enough energy and it's nice out, I might go for a second run. So I went to the dam to go for the second run, but I only did like I'll do 5 laps around the dam. Like I won't consistently run for the entire 5. Like usually after 2, I'll go drink some water in the car, go back, do another 2, and then I'll like
Oh,
walk
really? You
the
stop?
last lap. Yeah, I
Ow.
have to.
Yeah,
But
well, I mean that makes sense, but oh my god, just before, and I was like, yeah, I want to start running, and then I know how you can run, and I know how much I can't, but like it's crazy how quick that changes for me, because like if I was to run now, like you're just down the street from me,
Mm-hmm.
I probably couldn't make it to your house. I would have a
Yeah.
serious like lung congestion, asthma attack,
Well, you actually
from that.
have asthma, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but it's exaggerated by my lack of cardiovascular activity. And that was something that I didn't really focus on when I was working out a lot, was like cardio. Like I was, I got pretty jacked and I was really strong. Like I was super, super strong for like how heavy I was. But my cardio was I never really gave a shit about it, because it was, I was so young that it was, nothing could affect my cardio. You know what I mean? I could go smoke a bunch of weed or go do whatever the hell I wanted to do, and it was like nothing. You know what I mean? But now
Mm-hmm.
I notice the impact of, like I have the vape and I got to get rid of that thing. I'm at the bottom of a bottle of juice, and I really just want to not buy another one and just rid myself of that. I
Mm-hmm.
want to. I think during this year, um, I want to try and rid myself of like unnecessary intake of things, particularly that are like toxic to my body. You know what I mean? Because like I never really drank a whole lot, and then during COVID and just I worked at a bar, it just kind of naturally happened that I don't like drink a bunch, but like I can like often drink like a couple of beer. You know what I mean? Whereas like before I would like smoke at the end of the night. Now I'm like, oh, I'll have 2 beer. But like last week, like after last podcast, I was just like, so I think I drank like 4 tall cans last episode, and the next day I was like, you know what? I'm only gonna drink when I do the podcast. And so like this week I had a beer the other day, but it was because I thought I was gonna be able to spend some time at the beach, and then didn't get that time. So I was like, all right, I'm just done with that. But I regretted that. It was the first time I drank in a while that I regretted it. But I think by the end of this year I want to like no smoking, no vape. I want to drastically reduce or completely cut weed out, and alcohol as well. Because I think back to like the fuck is that? I just got like I had like soil on my beer or some shit. I was just in the room there where I was growing. When I was
That's
like
those money seeds.
when I was early into the gym, I remember like I believed, what was it that I thought, like smoking weed would mess with like some sort of absorption of like a nutrient or something. There was just some article that I read that was probably bullshit, but it was like smoking weed is going to kill your gains. And I was like, all right, well, I can't do that. And I think it was like after I got grounded for smoking. So I was like, whatever, that's out the window. And I didn't drink. And for like 3 months, I wasn't allowed to do anything anyway. And I didn't realize it at the time, but like looking back, I was so focused because all I was allowed to do was go to school and go to the gym. Because I was like grounded from getting caught smoking weed for like 3 months.
You're on parole.
Yeah. But like, I want that kind of like mental clarity back. Like I used to have post-it notes on my wall of like the next like month and where my weight goal was going to be, and I could like follow it to a T, just like
Mhm.
ding, 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 going through all these goals. I want to get back there.
Yeah,
Like,
or like
2022 is the sober year.
yeah, I always kind of hope to eventually get to a point in my life where I don't necessarily need any vices. And I tried like at the beginning of 2020. I didn't drink from New Year's Day all the way to like February 8th. It was right before I left and went to Panama because I knew I was going to drink when I went there. And I don't necessarily think I love the feeling of like I think I definitely cut down the amount of drinking that I've done over the past month, I believe, actually. And I don't know. I find like if I drink beer, I don't wake up hungover for the most part the next day. If I get drunk enough, if I get buzzed enough after drinking beer that I end up mixing my alcohol and then I'm like staying up a little bit later or whatever, then I might feel like shit the next day. But I haven't been hungover in like I think like 2 months, which is a good feeling. And you know what, man? I think my life where I'm just like as corny as it might sound, like I'm so focused that I don't really think that like if I know that there's something productive that I could be doing, that's going to be more appealing to me than wasting my time drinking or doing whatever else. But at the same time, I think I'm able to intertwine a couple beer with doing something still productive at the same time. Like when we do the podcast, we might have a beer or two. If I'm listening to the podcast, making the timestamps, I might have a beer. I did that like 2 weeks ago, but I don't need to. But if it's there, it's not going to take away.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah.
think it's more habitual.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's habitual, it's a problem. Not necessarily even a problem because, like,
It happens to a lot
weed like every day for like the longest time, and it's just like I don't like. I can see some aspect of how it may like you may interpret something differently or like not be focused in a certain moment of your day, but like it doesn't necessarily have to have a negative impact either. You know what I mean?
Functioning
It's a timing thing.
Functioning alcoholics are definitely a thing, but I don't necessarily aspire to be like them to any degree. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know. It's like, oh, I had a day and I'm gonna have a drink. It's like that's totally you are deserving of doing that. And if you can balance that, then by all means go crazy all the time. I think I can balance things relatively well. So I don't really see as of right now in my life any kind of issue or any kind of vice or whatever. Maybe caffeine consumption, I could cut that down a little bit. Over the last week, I definitely had more energy drinks than usual, but whatever. I run probably back to the dam. I think it's 1.2 kilometers per lap. So I'm doing about 6.5 kilometer runs a day. But it's not consistent.
I would probably get halfway around that before I was like in rough shape.
Yeah, I'll do like 2 laps like without stopping. Usually, actually today I did 3. Sometimes I'll do like a brief little walking period in between. And it's funny, after the second lap, I always go across the street and I pee behind the old Taekwondo building that I used to go and do Taekwondo when I was 6. So I forget the guy's name that owns it. I think his name is Bill. It's the father of someone we went to school with. He is the owner of the Taekwondo place. I'm not doing it disrespectfully. It's just the most convenient place for me to pee when I like usually it's like early in the morning. It'll be around like 9 a.m. So I'm like, I drank like a whole jug of water and now I'm going for a run. And like in the midst of it, I'm like, I'm going to literally piss my pants, but I can't because some old lady's walking her dog and she's going to see my dingling. So I got to go behind the Taekwondo palace and pay my dues to the grass. But there's definitely a house like that. If you looked at the person in the house that's behind the Taekwondo place, looked out their window, they would definitely see me peeing. But I've checked the window and I don't see anybody ever looking out. So I think I'm safe. But if they did see me, they're going to be like, man, this guy pees behind this place at the same time every day.
They're definitely in the corner of the window creeping in on it. Like
there's no cameras in the back, but if they did, they got hella content of my dick. They got hella dick content.
Funny that you say that. Actually, the other day I was outside with Mac in the backyard, and he just like looked at me all panicked. He's like, "I gotta pee," and I was like, Oh, buddy, you're in for a treat. Never peed outside before.
Oh, you never peed outside before?
No,
No way. But you were in your
no.
own backyard, so he could have
Yeah,
easily
yeah.
went into the bathroom. But you kind of looked at this as like a opportunity to let him embrace his manlyhood.
Well, Emily and Luca were upstairs napping on the couch, and so I was like, I don't want to. I'd have to walk past them to get to the bathroom. Mac's a noisy guy, so I was like, that seems like a lot of work. I was like, here, Mac, come over to this. We got a bush that's like it's tucked in. You know what I mean? It's a little corner in my yard, and I was like you can just pull your underwear down and pee over there. And he's like, what? And he's all like sketched out about it. And he like stood there for like a solid like minute and a half, like not peeing, but like with his pants and shit down. And then he started peeing and he was like losing it. He was like, I'm making mud.
Well, was he concerned that he was making a mess and he might get in trouble, or he was just impressed that he was making liquid in the
I think
ground?
he was confused because he wasn't in the bathroom. And he was just like,
that would be confusing.
He was like, what is this? You know what I mean? And then once he started peeing, he was like, this is awesome. I'm making mud. I was like, yeah, buddy. Get that.
You might just start whipping it out anywhere now.
Yeah, well, that's my immediate concern.
You're going to go for a walk in the park on Father's Day. Next thing you know, everybody's looking at Mac's cock. Cancel it. I was just going to bring this up. It's funny that you're mentioning this because I think the first time I ever got in trouble as a kid was with you, because you remember this, and this was like,
I do remember this. I was just about to bring.
You know what I'm going to say? When you were bringing this up about you showing Mac that you could pee outside, I haven't thought about this in like a year, or like I don't even like. This is just like a really old memory tucked away in the back of my head. But we got in trouble. Well, my parents we got in trouble with my parents when we were like both like for some background context here. Mitch's grandmother. This is how me and Mitch met when we were both 3 years old. His grandmother at the time lived next to the house that I just moved into, and we became friends because Mitch was fascinated by the fact that his grandmother told him that my name was also Mitchell, and you didn't know that anyone else could share the same name as you.
And I just had a rough day at school because I freaked out coming home from daycare because there was like 2 or 3 other Mitchells in my daycare class. And I was like, I went to my grandmother and I was so upset. I was like, I thought I was the only one. And then she was like, oh yeah, one just moved in up the road. And I was like, fuck, like what? Like there's another one?
There's another one. All hope has been lost. You had like the same kind of realization as you were shocked at it, like just like how Mac was when he realized that he could pee outside today.
I was upset, but I was like, okay, well if there's another one up the road, I gotta go see this guy. And
let's see what he's all about.
I can remember going over, like I can remember the run because you like between my grandmother's house and your house was my uncle's house.
Right, exactly. There's a house in between. You go through the backyard, and there's a dog there.
Their backyard. Yeah, there was that ceramic Dalmatian statue there.
Oh man, is that still there? Do you know? Because they still live there, right? That statue is iconic.
My cousin lives there. His son lives there. But yeah, I remember running through, and I would run through there so often. Like that was always like, oh, I go to Nanny Boone's house. Nanny Boone's babysitting. Boom, I'm gonna run over to Mitchell's house.
Yeah. Well, what we got in trouble for though was you showed me. You probably just learned that you could pee outside too. I think you actually showed me. You told me you were the first person to bring it to my attention that I could also pee outside. You found it out. This is a big thing in the it must be a big thing in the term of bloodline. When you find out about peeing outside, hopefully Mac is going to share this newfound information to his peers as well. It was like my backyard, and then there was like that field that was like not claimed by anyone in particular, so we kind of made it our own. And like that would be a thing. Like after school, I remember like we would meet up, like we're going to go take a piss. It was like a thing. We were like, let's do it. Yeah, because at that point in my life, I was only, you piss in your diaper, you get potty trained, you're sitting down and peeing. You might, mature a little bit. You might become a big boy and stand up and pee, which I don't even think I was doing at that time. So it was kind of like I was standing up and peeing for the first time, and now I'm peeing outside. It was like so much rebellious activities that were going on in that backyard. But it must have been funny for my parents to find out, like, we're hanging out, whatever, 5 years old, 6 years old, and they're like, "What are they doing?" And it's like and I guess that they must have knew. They just catch 2 fucking 6-year-olds.
Do you remember we had a corner? Your corner was like the far right end, and my corner was like the far left end. Do you remember that?
I remember we both
like
had
if you
like
were,
designated places. Yes.
yes, it was like on opposite corners of the backyard. Remember there was like those people that lived like through your backyard, and you used to get scared shitless of their dogs, but they were like a mile away from.
Oh my God, man! But one time that dog ran into the backyard. I remember that. I was on the back of my grandfather's truck, I think, and I was like just holding on for dear life. I was so scared of dogs, man. I still don't trust dogs that much, but Willie, the dog here, he's been sleeping with me over the last week. We've been having a gay cuddle session, me and the dog. So, shout out to Willie. He hops in the bed with me, and I'm like, this is a good companion. I understand why people are so connected with dogs now. This little guy is jumping in bed. He's just like
Oh, dude,
so
dogs are
hyper and
sick.
annoying. So hyper and annoying 95% of the time, but it's like if you're on the same wavelength, it's like we're going to bed, he'll follow me, he'll lay on the ground. It's like a new connection I've never had with an animal before. I'm like, I'm starting to warm up to this dog.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just like any, like not just like any relationship, but it's like a different kind of relationship that you can have, especially with dogs. Like dogs are very much companions. I used to have two. Actually, I have I have two funny Derek memories that like stuck with me for a long time. But
My dad, Big D.
both times I felt like bad. The first one, I think I told you about this. Like I used to have a Spider-Man. There was like a silly, what's it called, silly spray or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the shoot, like, you know what I mean? But it was like Spider-Man, and you would go, and it like would shoot the thing out.
Bro, so the Spider-Man spray, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know what you're going to say. That was an amazing product.
It was an amazing product. So I had one at my house, like when I was super young. And then one day I was at my grandmother's, and I went to your house, and you weren't home. But your garage door was open like a foot and a half. And I was like, well, if that's open, somebody's probably in there. And then I went in there, and then there was the Spider-Man silly spray sitting there. And I'm like, motherfucker, here we go. So I put that thing on, man. I ran around your whole backyard, and I was like, I'm gonna silly spray the tree to like the swing set to this to that, and it was all over your backyard. And then you guys came home like as I was like finishing making a mess of your whole backyard, and your dad was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You can't come to somebody's house and make a mess like this." And I was like, "Oh no!" And I ran home. I was so embarrassed.
So wait, you came to my house and the silly string. Yeah, how old would you think that you would have been at the time? Like, I remember this. You were like 7, maybe?
Oh, no, I don't think I was that old.
The Curry Street gang activity was at an all-time high. Like, so you had it, and then you found out that I got it too, and you were mad because I got it as well.
No, I just went looking for you, and then I walked into your garage because it was kind of open, and I was like, somebody's probably in there. And I went in, it was like the first thing I saw was the spray, and I was like, oh no way, I used to have this. And I just like,
oh, you knew what it was.
Yeah,
you had no ill intention. You just were like, this is fun when you spray the silly string all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, I was super young. I didn't move into like the house on Turner Street yet, so I moved in there when I was like 5 or 6, so it was before then. Like it was.
Bro, that's why the fuck were we even roaming around like that at 5? Or like you were just like, that's crazy. Just from it out, like to see that now, like you were 2 houses over, so you had to leave like little 5-year-old walking over. It's like the confidence to be like, I'm just gonna stroll in here, whatever. Doors open, nothing's there. To be able to identify that the silly string is there. You remember you used to have it. You know what it can do. You pick it up. You do your damn thing. Fascinating. That's a great. Those were great times.
Being a kid is crazy.
Being a kid is crazy, man. Being a kid's underrated.
Oh man, it's amazing when you can like, I don't know, like you don't know anything, so like you don't know like what there is and what there isn't. Like Mac was the other night, that same day that I ended up had a couple beer because I thought I was gonna go to the beach, but I ended up just taking them home. I was barbecuing, had a couple beer, and was watching Luca, and Mac was outside with me while I was barbecuing, and he was just like, he's like, do the sun and the moon ever like meet? You know what I mean? Just like asking me, like he's just looking into space. He's standing on his slide, looking up into the sky, and he's just like, wondering about all these like things, and it's like incredible the questions that like children will come to you with.
And it's super awesome that you get to answer those questions. And just to think like 100% that those questions are totally, fascinating when you think back when you had those questions as well, because you're just getting thrown, all this information is getting thrown at you and you're so new to everything. It's like your brain is developing and you went from being like a tiny baby and you learn how to speak. It's unbelievable how like children just pick up after listening to people around them speak a certain language for so long, and they just are being communicated with, and they just eventually can speak that language. And now it's like, okay, now I know what the sun is, and it's called the sun, and that's the moon, and that comes out at night, and they're both in the sky. Like, these are very valid questions for a 4-year-old to ask. And it's as we get older, there's certain things that we kind of have like that, like we continue to always have questions.
Your views become more rigid. Like,
yeah, but
you get an understanding for things, right? And then it's like you don't.
But they become more complex of questions. So like our questions become more that like there's more of a predetermined opinion and base level understanding going into the question. Like you could be in your early 20s and you want to learn a little bit more about finances and investing. Like that's something that I had no knowledge about a year ago, and I'd have like a entry level, maybe beginner, intermediate level of understanding now, and you as well. But that was something I had absolutely really no clue about prior to last year. And it's like we always have very like oblivious questions, or like questions that we ask that are so basic, but it's just they kind of have different levels of knowledge as we get older. But it's like,
yeah, and your brain's only got like so much kind of, it's kind of got sort of like infinite storage space, but like not really. Like you can only seriously pay attention to so much at once. But like, what if you had like a lot of, what if you had a fresh hard drive in there? You know what I mean? And it's like,
oh, it's just it's exciting.
It's not full. There's nothing. Nothing's predetermined. You know what I mean? You don't have a bias going into anything. It's just like, I'm going to ask this question. And I remember as a kid being like confused that my father wasn't driven nuts by me asking him all the time. I would just follow him around, like ask him shit, because I knew like my dad's like everybody grows up, I think, at least when they're young, everybody that has their father around thinking that their father is like the smartest. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a boy, like you think like my dad knows everything, but my dad is like stupid smart particularly when it comes to like science, chemistry, and mathematics. So like he could explain certain things to me at like such a depth that I didn't even want to hear the answer anymore. And it's just interesting to like watch my own son, especially when you're like my dad was not much older than me when he had me, right? So like I'm like following him around, asking him all these questions, like he knows everything. And he's probably like, oh my God, I don't even have an answer for this. I don't know how he wasn't so frustrated, because Max always like ask me something. I'm like, you know what I mean? But it's crazy that they have that like time in their life. Like, and it feels like we were just there. Like I can still remember things from when we were really little that are like fresh. And I'm like, now I'm part of this process, or like I'm a tier higher in this process where it's like he believes that like I can show him everything.
Yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. I'm sure that's pretty common for kids that just kind of trust that their parents have the undeniable truth to any question that they ask. But that's the thing, is like, like all of your all your earlier information that you have processed as a young kid is like that most likely came from your parents telling you stuff. I mean, that's how you learn the English language or whatever language you speak, and you learn like the basis of everything and what's right and what's wrong. So it would only make sense for when you're younger, the person that you would go to try to get the answer to any question that you have would be your parents. But I was like very confident as well. Like you said, like your dad knows everything, because you have a problem, you break something, they try to fix it. You see them, working on stuff in the garage, or like, they take you places, and they're most parents are just kind of talking to their kids and telling them, oh, this is how this, was made, or whatever, shit like that. And, you just kind of have that trust that your parents will educate you on any question that you have. But as you get older and you start developing your own interests and you're kind of teaching yourself stuff, It becomes very fascinating when you realize that your parents are just people that they're just like they're
Just
adults,
people.
yes, but
They're
they're
just
just
people.
people. They just have lived longer than you. So
Mhm.
of course they have the answers to more things than you, but it's not unlikely for you to be younger than them and have more answers to certain things that they know absolutely nothing about. It's
And
just like
the really confusing thing too is like how things change over time. Like I know that like I remember when I was young, my understanding of math was pretty good, like really good for like when I was early on, because I was like obsessed with money and counting and things like that. And now like Mac is just he knows like what numbers are squares. You know what I mean? Like nine's a square, 16 I think is a square, 4 by 4. Yeah, and you know what I mean. He knows better than I do. Like he can tell you what numbers are squares.
no, honestly, when you were just saying he knows what numbers are squares, and you were like 9 is a square and 16 is a square, I was trying to think. I'm like, what the fuck? How did I learn all? I was thinking of like, what do you mean? Like the square of a number makes another number, but you're like, oh yeah, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
the result of that is what makes those numbers a square. Like,
Yeah, and like he
I don't
knows what
need
that
to,
means just from some
yeah.
TV show that he decided to watch a lot. You know what I
But
mean?
it's
Like he
crazy
would.
because it's like I don't even need to think of that in day-to-day life, and I haven't really had to do any kind of math at all in years because there's nothing to do with what I do. So I'm just kind of think like, obviously I could do fucking math, but it's just like just certain terminology is kind of like
Yeah, it's
I
gone.
haven't thought of it in that way in like forever.
But
It's something as simple as what numbers are a square. I
but
sound
but
retarded.
I never tried to, I would do some math with them, and I remember teaching them like letters and colors and things like that. But a lot of the stuff he just naturally became interested in watching. He watches this show called Number Blocks that like teaches him all this shit with math that he's like, hey dad, 16's a square. This is, there's 4 2s and 8 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is crazy because
Well, this is what he's
and
passionate about right now because he knows that he's probably getting that kind of self assurance, and he's getting like that sense of accomplishment when he figures out something new. And like I'm like that too, even to this day. Like if I'm learning a lot about something, I just can't contain myself but to share that information with everybody, even if they don't care. At least to the people that I see on a day-to-day basis. Like I have a difficult time learning a bunch of stuff that gets me excited and not sharing that with my girlfriend or my mom or you or someone like that. It's like, hey, this is interesting to me.
Mhm.
This is what I am thinking about. So I'm going to just naturally talk about it. So like Mac is really fascinated by math, which is awesome. Some kids are not fascinated about shit when they're 4. They're fascinated by some random thing on the iPad. I sound like a 50-year-old on the iPad. But
Well,
fucking it's great that he's learning something like that he's gonna be even, he's gonna be prepared when he goes into school because these are things that like he's not learning that shit in preschool or grade primary. Like what's a square of whatever.
yeah,
And
he understands, not everything, but he understands like some, third, fourth grade level math, you know what I mean? And even like shapes, like he knows what a dodecahedron is.
but that's a testament to
You
like,
know what I
and
mean?
he's learning a lot. I don't even know what you just said, but it shows how beneficial a lot of the content on YouTube is because he's watching videos that are just like done and produced to be appealing and fun to young kids to teach them entry level math in the school system and everything, right? Like this is
Mhm.
he's getting all this information from watching YouTube, right? So the entertainment value is high enough for it to catch his attention, but he comes away with the learning what's in the video because the video is engaging and fun enough to actually, keep his attention throughout the whole
Mhm.
thing. And then he's kind of learning it in like a repetitive aspect where it's kind of like just repeating and shit. But like I said, when we were here, when you took him for a walk and you guys stopped at the driveway and you were throwing math equations at him and stuff, just like simple shit. We were saying we had to think about it for a second, and then like, okay, now we know the answer. Make sure he tells us the right thing. But he knew it. Like he knew how to. It's not just like memory. He kind of knew what he had to do to get that answer. Like even if he was
Mhm.
off by one number, it's like no, let's count out and see what this plus this, why
Yeah,
that
like
equals
he'll
that. Like
yeah, I think we're asking him like a multiple of 8, and he was like saying 36, but it was 32, or the other way, or I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know.
yeah, it's like
But he started counting up the eights. You know what I mean? To get there, like it's crazy. But like it's funny that you said a minute ago the whole iPad thing. He's like he'll take Emily's phone and like just run away with it and put on the camera and he'll start playing with the filters and stuff, and then he'll like set up his cars and start taking pictures because he's obsessed with cars. And I think I've talked about this on here a few times. He's obsessed with Cars movies, so he'll like set up Lightning McQueen and like all of like the other like the bad guy main characters and stuff in like racing positions and like put it in black and white and like take pictures of it. And Emily's phone will have like hundreds of pictures of like.
That's so cool that you could go on the camera roll though and just look and see what he decided to do. Like, and when he stole that camera, like he doesn't know that you can go back and just see what the fuck he was doing. I'm sure he figured that out if he knows how to work the filters. But I remember when I was young too, like my dad had like the old like VHS camera, and he showed me like he like put me on to like stop motion shit or whatever, like, and you could do, I don't know how I did it with that camera, but I think it was just like taking a bunch of photos of like this. I had like this train set in my basement, and like I was just kind of like moving the cars, and I made this like stop motion or whatever. I think that's the proper term, where it's just like it's almost like a slideshow that's just like a ton of pictures that just creates this like very choppy video, like motion of whatever. It was like 20 seconds long. And I remember I made it, and I don't even know how it was like put together because I was like 7, but I remember being so fascinated, hooking it up to the TV and being like, that was the thing that I made, and movies are on the TV, and that thing I made is now on the TV. Maybe that's partially the reason why I'm interested in, making music videos and doing shit like this to this day, because that was probably one of the earlier phases of it. This is a great conversation so far. We're not touching into any topics or anything like that. Anyone who is watching and has watched the previous episodes and watched up to this point, let us know if this is more of a format that you would like to see us be rocking with the future. Which is
I love this stuff, man. I was just kind of thinking, I was like looking at the time, like how long have we been recording?
But I don't feel like we're like, oh fuck, we're behind, we didn't touch on any topics. I'm like, this is perfect. I kind of prefer for it to just be flowing naturally like this. I just put together the topics just so we got shit to fall back on if we aren't flowing like this.
Yeah. Well, it was actually before the whole, you running and having that kind of regimen, and when I was, that period of time where I was like not able to hang out with anybody, but I could go to the gym and go to school. And that was basically all I was allowed to do. I was super focused. Got me thinking about the first topic that we have in our email here, about the 111-year-old Australian guy, and how, because it's funny that he said this. So I'll open that article myself, but there's a 111-year-old Australian man who recommends eating chicken brains for longevity. And my great grandmother lived to be quite old, and she used to say, what was it? She would poke a hole in an egg and drink an egg like raw or something like that, like straight out of the egg.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different tactics that people might use, and just, I don't know if this guy was informed that eating chicken brains by some other wise older man when he was younger, and this was the key to him living a long life, and that's why he did it. I mean, you'd have to do it for quite a long period of time if you're living. He's the oldest man in the history of Australia. There was someone named, the oldest ever verified Australian was Christina Cook, who died in 2002 at 114 years old. I wonder if she was eating chicken brains.
Dude, did you look at the picture, the first picture that you open up in the article? Check that guy's hand, man. He's missing some digits.
Oh yeah, bro. That guy, he got those wiener fingers for sure.
That's the war vet status.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to him, man. I mean, if he was serving his country, lots of respect. This guy, I mean, he's 111 years old, so he definitely kind of was probably obligated to, I don't know, the level of involvement Australia ever had in world wars. I'm sure that's not really something I've done a deep dive on. But yeah, he could have been wanking it too. But he wasn't just talking about eating those chicken brains. Those chickens were giving him brain. But his quote was chicken brains. It says, Kruger told Australian Broadcasting Corp an interview at his nursing home in the rural Queensland state town of Roma days before the milestone that a weekly poultry delicacy had contributed to his longevity. But I think at this point too, when you're like 111 and you're just kind of are at that legend status of how old you are, you could probably just make anything up or say anything and people will be like, yo, that's it, man. He could be completely trolling everybody just to kind of get them to eat chicken brains, because he could just be like, fuck it, I don't know, I'm just old and I haven't died yet. What have you done? Is there any kind of tips you can give us for living a longer life? Chicken brains. He's probably laughing after the reporters leave. His quote was, chicken brains, chickens have a head, and in there, there's a brain, and they are delicious little things. There's only one little bite. So I would like to, I'm sure there's some more context that you could find on the internet.
Kruger's 74-year-old son, Greg, credits his father's simple outback lifestyle for his long life. I think that's facts, man. I think at some point in your life, like my goal, I think, after we went on that vacation, when we had that Airbnb last summer, that's where I want to be. Maybe not particularly there, but that vibe, that's when I'm like 40, that's where I'm trying to be.
Bro, what we got to do is we're getting rich. And what we got to do, we got to move ourselves and all the loved ones. We got to buy a bunch of land in like some Central American country, like in a community where like everybody gets along and there's enough culture and there's like a couple of restaurants and a couple, bars, and it's just like a nice local vibe. We just buy a bunch of land for the cheap, build some houses, have a little community, and we just rock out and we just kill it. That would be that. I mean, that would be like if we're in Shetty, we're just in like a place that's like, I would get like satisfaction of being like, I'm in a different country. Mm-hmm. We learn a different language. We fucking have chickens. We eat some chicken brains. We shoot some guns.
At some point in my life, I want to have chickens for real.
Yeah,
that's like, man. I bought an 18-pack of eggs the other day. That shit was like $7. You can get that, and like you got a couple chickens, you can get all those eggs every day for free.
Yeah, that's true, man. Free eggs.
Like,
that's not something that
and that's why I got into like gardening at the beginning. Like when COVID first happened, I was like, okay, I'm gonna grow some food. Now I got like 3 kinds of hot peppers, corn, potatoes, leeks, onions, garlic, fucking pumpkins, beans, all kinds of shit growing in my backyard right now.
Do you want to start a hot sauce company?
A hot sauce company?
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I'm down.
Let us know if you guys would be down for us to start a hot sauce company if you cop that Mitchell Squared hot sauce. Fuck that. Fuck getting a hoodie or merch or whatever. Let's just make hot sauce. Hot sauce and a crypto coin.
It's funny. I was thinking about that earlier. We should just start a coin, make something fun.
Bro, anyone can get into it, man. I swear to God.
Well, I think you need like some pretty powerful computers to do it, but
yeah, you got to get some trustworthy developers that know what they're doing. But people that are in that game are whipping coins out of their ass left and right. And if you can develop a strong enough community of people that believe in it, can spread it, and it has some kind of utility or game plan, and you got some proper branding, influencers that are sharing it, whatever, you pump that shit up, whatever, then it could take a life of its own. But Mitchell coin, I mean, that's I would invest in Mitchell coin. But moving on here. Here's another one I got here. Science says that men with bigger noses have bigger penises. What's your nose?
Wait to get into this topic because
you get that wide schlong. Everyone's nose looks wide though when you tilt it to the left or the right. Yeah, I think they did this study when they were. If you look in the article though on this OD website. It has a picture of Pinocchio, because obviously he got that.
I love the single bullet point at the top of the article. Is your nose that freakishly huge, or are you just happy to see me?
It says, what they say about men with big hands, right, or big feet, or fingers of certain length. Or our point is, there are a lot of sayings and theories about how the sizes of different body parts correlate with the size of a dude's manhood. If you can't remember them all, we have some good news for you. Science has figured out where you should be looking. And the answer is a little bit on the nose. A new Japanese study published in the journal Basic and Clinical Andrology discovered that there is a correlation between the size of a man's nose and his dingling. Basically, the bigger the nose, the bigger the wiener. The study is the first to demonstrate the relationship between stretched penis length and in brackets that have SPL. Nothing like a good old case of the SPL and no sign. And just so we're clear, SPL means the maximum length of the penis during erection. This means that the guy's nose is a good indicator of what his equipment is like when standing at attention. It also means that the nose metric is reliable when it comes to getting down and dirty. If your big nose lover seems disappointing initially, he's probably just a grower, not a shower. And then they have another section of this article that's just labeled dead dongs. And says, while the study undeniably has naughty implications, actual research took place in one of the least sexy places on the planet, a morgue. They examined a total of 126 male cadavers.
Cadavers.
Dead body. I assume that. I just never really have seen that word before.
Kyoto. Shout out to Young Lean.
Shout out to Young Lean. They're out in Japan. Actual goal is to determine whether the size ratios of body parts could help determine the age of badly decomposed bodies during forensic investigation. The scientists explained that based on previous research, the level of post-mortem serum prostate specific antigen and the size of the prostate correlate with age. They want to know if there are any such indicators that could help investigators figure out how old the corpse was at the time of death. However, reading the study, it becomes pretty clear that researchers may have gotten slightly sidetracked. We investigated whether the size of the male genitalia similarly exposes serum testosterone during aging could change with age. The saying big nose, big O's suggests that nose indicates penile length. However, scientific reports that prove the statement are not available today. Anyway, what's that? On the other end of the scale, the average erect manhood of the guys with 1.7-inch noses came to barely over 4 inches. Basically, adding just 2/5 of an inch to the nose increased the length of a man's dong by more than an inch. The results of the study found there's a much direct correlation between the sizes of the nose and penis. Men with a nose measuring 2.1 inches in size has an average SPL of 5.3, bro. What's your SPL? I gotta check my phone, man. My SPL is dying down. SPL is down today. By the dip.
I was just about to say this.
SPL's down by the dip, bro.
That'll be our coin. That'll be our coin.
At Mitchell Squared SPL. When's the IDO? When's the IPO coming? Yeah. However, before you start measuring your own nose, you should be aware of the limited scope of the study. The researchers examined only Japanese men who haven't been known to have the biggest dong. I'm just kidding. I'm sure they have a bigger penis than I. I don't know if that's an actual fact. That's just what the people say. Us white men, I mean, we're probably not
We're in the middle of the road.
We're in the middle of the road. I'm sure there's a Japanese guy out there with a bigger schlong than I. That is until scientists in other countries replicate the study. Conclude, this goes on and on. But basically, if you want to just, big nose, big load.
I was interested in the number 5 article here that we have, but number 6 is even crazier.
Wait, let me see. How did I list these in here? They match up with how I got my tabs open. Number 6, number 5 is so basically number 5 is it's an article, How the Tribe Worshipping Prince Philip as Their God Reacted to His Death. That was actually interesting and pretty fascinating. The other one is just fucking hard to wrap your head around. San Francisco poop testing company charged with fraud. That headline is funny, like right off the bat, because it starts off with San Francisco poop company charged with fraud. It's like you're a fucking poop company.
And then that bullet point at the top of the article. Imagine swabbing your butt only to find out the procedure was for nothing. At least we'd be upset.
Yeah. Speak for yourself. I don't expect anything when someone swabs my butt.
I don't think I've ever had my butt swabbed.
Basically, it was like a company that had like a ton of investors. It was like they raised like $60 million. It was like a pharmacy. It was in the health sector. Sounds like a fucking character off of whatever. Basically, I think they had a bunch of investors, a bunch of money raised, and they had these kits that people could get. And I think like their insurance company would pay for them, and they were getting the insurance companies for people were getting that people were with that were paying for these kits to
Oh, they were
swab
scamming the
the
insurance
body.
companies. That's
Yeah,
a
they were getting
finesse.
like they were getting like $3,000 on a few different occasions for all this shit. But it was basically for people to like swab different parts of their body and then like send it off, and they would be able to like track if they were going to be vulnerable to actually getting any type of cancers based off of the whatever kind of DNA samples or fluids or whatever they were sending back to this company. But really, they weren't actually providing any accurate information, or their information was dated, and it wasn't the technology that they were using wasn't up to speed. And then they fucking the owners of the company like sold all their shares, and it was all fucked up. And now they're getting taken to court. So I always said, don't trust these poop companies out here.
It's an exit scam, bro. Did you see that there's a cryptocurrency this week where they the creators exit scammed?
They just said, fuck you guys got scammed. Well, a lot of these, there's a lot of these coins. Like if you go on the website, Coin Market Cap, like, and that's like Coin Market Cap is the exchange where people like there's like still like 55 different pages you would click on, all different coins and everything, and that's not even anywhere close to as many coins that are dropping per day by these developers and trying to form a community to get people to pump money into it and everything. Like if you get a Coin Market Cap, that's like super legitimacy, and so like anyone can really come up with a coin. There's so many of these, but a lot of them, you know, are kind of made with the intention. That's why it's always important to do your research before putting money into them, because they can be made with the intention to just basically have the owners and developers put their money into it. They own a big share. They put some hype around it. Everybody gets in. They, you know, obviously they have a ton of coins or whatever. The value increases, and the market cap is low, so it's really easy. Like they'll have like 30%. They'll have their wallets will be like 30% of all the money in the coins and the whole project, and then they'll sell. Fucking the whole thing will tank, and then people will lose their money, and then that'll be the end of the project essentially. So I'm sure that's probably not the first one that has done something similar to that, because there's so many shit coins that come in left and right. But the fact that they were like owned up to it and just put on their website, you guys have been scammed. That's pretty fucked up. But I went to go see if there was any YouTube videos that were done about this particular cryptocurrency that ran the scam and just kind of ran off with everybody's money. And I didn't seem like there was many, because any currency, crypto, whatever, there's always enough, like a handful of YouTubers that are making videos about it, saying whether or not it's a good investment, and just so many YouTubers in that space. But I didn't see any videos about that particular coin, so it couldn't have been too popular. But I still think they ran off with like 32 million or something.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well,
which is a relatively small market cap for a crypto, but
definitely. But it's interesting because is typically a move that you would see. If you look, I follow this guy on YouTube. Barely Sociable is his YouTube channel, but he goes into like conspiracy stuff, but not like not typical. Like he really dives into stuff like Silk Road and things like that. Like not necessarily conspiracy, but like things you would like him. You got to check him out. He's kind of all over the map, but it's just interesting topics that he kind of dives a little bit deeper. He won't make a video unless he can get a little like level deeper than what the internet typically has in terms of information on a topic. But he got into Silk Road and websites of the like exit scams on one of his more recent videos, I believe. And that's a typical thing. Like you'll see when something like the Silk Road, I don't think it exists. There may be some sort of reiteration of it now, but after they were taken down, there was other websites that would come out and basically on the dark web, obviously, and create a new marketplace for like drugs and guns and all kinds of illegal products on the internet. And they would basically build like the same way that you're saying, like a lot of these coins, like they build a base. They get a lot of people involved. They get a lot of buzz. They'll go on message boards and talk up this website for buying and selling, drugs or guns or whatever the service may be. They'll work the reputation up for like 3 to 6 months, and then they'll exit scam. Like particularly after a big market comes down, like the Silk Road, like when a company like that comes down, they'll step in and say, okay, here's the new market, and they'll kind of fake run it, like let people run their services through it for a few months, and then once they have a bunch of money in escrow, which is basically like on their website between the buyer and the seller, they'll just pull that and then fuck off. And that seems like basically this is like the first time that I'm aware. Actually, it's not the first time that I'm aware of, because Barely Sociable actually did a video on somebody who did a cryptocurrency X scam, but it was a while ago, prior to it being a really big thing. But that is the first modern, like very modern case of that I've heard of, where you know what I mean, they set up a coin to increase the hype and then just pull the plug.
Yeah, I don't know
and I'm sure that they will be, unless they have some sort of very thought out plan of how they're going to transfer that money around and literally disappear for the rest of their lives. I don't think that they're going to get away. They're
not going to get fired. No, definitely not. Especially because they publicize it. I mean, that's totally fucked up. It's the project was called DeFi 100. I have never heard of it, so I don't know how many, how much noise they're making in the first place. But regardless, they scam some people, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's a tricky thing for sure. A lot of these currencies, like a big thing that appeals to a lot of investors that kind of take the time to do some research before putting their money into any of these coins, is the fact that like for example, like this one called Gamer Token that I was telling you about that I put some money in a couple days ago. Like on their website, like a lot of the good ones that like are lesser known on like a mainstream level, but still have the core community behind it and everything. Like they'll have like their roadmap on their website. Like they're like, we've applied for listing on this site, we've been audited. Like this Gamer Token has been audited, I think 2 times already and everything. So like there's a lot of ones that are lesser known, but are still having a relatively low market cap. You get in at a good point, you put a decent amount of money in, you could turn $100 into a few thousand, or depending on how early in a project you are and what the community is behind it, and if there's actually kind of some use cases for it. You're getting into it early, and like I was saying, if you set up the trust wallet and everything like that, you transfer a bigger coin like BNB coin to buy these smaller coins, and then kind of just hold on. If you could figure out a way to get into them, which isn't hard, YouTube will teach all that shit. You get into certain coins and projects before they're listed on the more mainstream exchanges that it's very easy for people to download, set up an account, whatever. When they start getting listed on these exchanges and stuff, and these exchanges accept these projects because of the legitimacy and everything, it becomes way more accessible to so many people. They start buying in, and then you reap the rewards of your early investment. Like I was watching a video with this guy before he like invested. Remember that Shiba coin I was telling you about? Meek Mill actually just tweeted about it before we did the podcast. He was saying he was about to buy into it. And it's interesting too, because the Shiba coin, which is labeled as like the Dogecoin killer, they're at a point now where it's like, you're probably not going to make an extremely high level of gains as you could have if you invested in them like 2 months ago, like because it's the cat's out of the bag now. They have like $11 billion market cap, and there's other of these dog coins, different projects that are also like in the billions of market caps and everything like that now. And that's like the meme coin trend is like these dog related coins, and that's why there's this one called Elon Doge that is going to be launched tomorrow night at like 11 p.m. I think it'll be able to be purchased on this pancake swap. But like in comparison, it falls into this category of these other coins like the Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, these coins like I got off subject talking about some guy on YouTube, but he basically made like 60 million off investing in the Shiba coin back in like November, which is fucked. But because it's like 0.000, like so like a fucking whatever of a cent, and even if it gets like halfway to a cent, it's like you absolutely killed it. But this one that's launching, this Elon Doge, I mean, it's probably not a project that has much of a use case, but if there be enough, like I'm in this Telegram group with these people that are just dying for it to come out, and there's like enough people that if their market cap is going to start at $100,000, and that is like peanuts in comparison to the other projects they would be in competition with that are like Dogecoin, I think is like 40 billion or something like that, like 100,000, like it's not even a million, like all the smaller ones that I'm just hearing about when people are saying, oh, you could
I feel like
extra money.
This is like some Wild West type, like almost like an IPO, you know what I mean, where you're
they call them the IDOs, like this the Elon Doge, like it got listed on like there's this other coin called Meme Pad, which is a company that basically is just giving legitimacy and helping distribute these. It's brand new, but it's a coin as well. It went crazy, I think, the last couple of weeks, but they had a launch for this Elon Doge coin on Friday where people could like stake their coins, which I haven't looked too much into that yet, but it's basically like if you own this coin, you could like kind of throw it up there, and they like kind of, if you just kind of give it to them, they could give you some of this, the new launch, like relatively early. But I'm getting sidetracked here. But anyway, yeah, like that this particular one is starting at $100,000 market cap. So obviously you get into it when it's that low, and it can, if it goes up to 1 million or 2 million or 10 million, like you're gonna fucking, you could put a small amount in, $20, and you could be seeing like $2,000, 10 grand, depending on the hype and the community around it that could really push it. But I'm gonna put a small amount into it tomorrow night and just kind of and see what happens. Like obviously when it comes to certain stuff like that, I would never suggest for people to put money into something like money that you need, or like you gotta if you're gonna put it into something that's volatile, is not even just crypto, because there's certain cryptocurrencies that
investing in general, you can only put up money that you're willing to lose. And honestly, personally, I'm probably not abiding by that rule, but that is the responsible thing to do.
Well, pay your bills first, and you know what I mean? Like have some money that you're gonna be able to buy food with and put gas in your car.
Obviously. I just mean like I don't have external savings. Like I put my savings into my investments. And the reason for that is like if this was pre-pandemic, I probably wouldn't have the same position. But there's things like Cineplex, you know what I mean, that have been battered by the pandemic. But at the same time, like when you look at like the kind of core activities, especially in like a small place like where we're at, like I used to work at Boston Pizza, right, in Sydney. And that Boston Pizza was the highest performing, like the highest income Boston Pizza out of every single one that exists. And the reason
I believe it's the highest
grossing
on the east coast of Canada, I believe.
No, that was like out of all of the Boston pizzas that exist, that one teetered between number 1 and number 2.
I think it might have been like per capita though, I believe, like per the location that it's in.
It was sales. Well, that's what I was told anyway. But it was that they had the highest and second highest sales consistently of Boston pizzas. But the reason for that is when you get into bigger cities, you know what I mean, there might be 10 of those.
Way more competition.
You know what I mean?
And
there's more competition, whereas here it's like right next to the movie theater. So in places like small towns like where we're from, those places are essential and actually draw in a huge amount of money because they're the only entertainment sources available. Whereas, like, you know what I mean, in a big city, you could have like Quiznos, Subway, Boston Pizza, fucking Olive Garden, fucking this, that, and the other thing, where people are drawing money in all kinds of different directions. Whereas here, it's like you only, like, I remember how slow it got after Montana's open, because I worked there when Montana's open, like just up the street or across the road or whatever. And that completely changed things in terms of sales for quite a period of time. But anyway, what I was getting to is people haven't been able to go to a theater, buy movie theater popcorn, and have that experience for a long time. So like making a bet on something like Cineplex, where it goes down from like $40 a share to like $9. Like even in the last couple of weeks, I made some money on that. So like the reason I feel comfortable investing in things so easily right now, like investing all of my savings, is because there's a lot of industries like airlines and movie theaters and things like that that have not even had the chance to rebound yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to, because of things that people miss. Like as soon as, you know what I mean? I have like, I don't know, I only have like 10 shares, I think, in Air Canada. And, you know, like those share prices are going to explode as soon as everybody can hop on a plane. You know what I mean? The share prices of Cineplex, as soon as Cineplex posts some positive revenue, their share prices.
Hopefully that can happen, because it's like when you're capable of being able to go to the movies again, I think there might be a surge where that share price could go up. and their profits will look a little bit more positive because people are just gonna be more willing to go to concerts and go to any kind of stuff.
Even if they barely profit, right?
Do that.
Even if they barely profit, people are going to be like, investors and people who are looking at those profits are going to probably fuck, the word is slipping my mind right now.
Become more interested, basically.
No,
like you're going to become more interested in the idea of that this is going to be optimistic and it's more of a reliable bet because obviously this company is going to be getting more business now because they're not shut down.
The word I was looking for was assume. They're going to assume that trend is going to continue because that's just the beginning of profitability post-pandemic. And that's why, like, I'm so comfortable investing in things like Air Canada and Cineplex, or like any airline and any movie theater, any restaurant. Like, I remember looking at Dave & Buster's like long ago when it was at like $13 a share. And I think right now it's at like $40 some a share. And Dave & Buster's, for anybody that doesn't live in America, is basically a restaurant mixed with an arcade, I believe. You know what I mean? And their share price is, enormous for what you would imagine it would be, compared to what it was early in the pandemic. I don't know how that spiked up so high, but you know what I mean? There's other industries where the share prices of every company involved in that industry has been impacted severely, and they're just waiting to come back. So like, that's why I don't really mind dropping my savings into things that haven't even rebounded yet.
And that's the thing too, is like, whenever you want that money, you could take it back out. It's the difference between investing and gambling. Gambling, you're just fucking blindly putting your money into a machine or a lottery ticket or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, that money's going to be completely gone. Those machines and all this stuff is designed to take your money. That's how that business works in the first place. With this, you can be strategic. You do research into a company or a crypto or whatever. And if you truly believe in it, then, that gives you all the rights to put your money into it, because there's a way to understand where your money is going instead of just blindly throwing it out there. And I think that the thing is, like, people get into it too early and it's becoming more of a popular thing and everything when you hear these stories, especially in cryptocurrency. But like, people will get into something, and if it doesn't exactly make them rich within a week or something, they'll get nervous when the prices drop down, and they don't understand the reasoning for the prices dropping down. And the fact that, like, if you just hold on to your investment, I mean, if you put money into something and then it devalues and it's now worth less, don't think that it's just going to continue going down and down and down. If you did your due diligence and you know what you're putting your money into, you're already a believer in this company, so you shouldn't even think about taking it back out, because that's the reason why you put your money there in the first place. You believe in what this company or this cryptocurrency or this whatever is capable of doing, so you just leave it. The best thing to do is not constantly be checking it all the time. It helps to definitely be informed, but that depends on your capability of just having enough mental strength to not panic sell, because you only lose your money when you sell, and you only make money when you sell if it's up. So if you're not profiting, if you haven't doubled your money or any type of green, don't sell, because you're just going to lose money. That's why you don't put money that you necessarily need on a day-to-day basis in this shit, because you're not going to get so worried. And especially with cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin dropped like 30% this week, and if Bitcoin drops, the whole market follows that. But really, Bitcoin's only dropping because majority of the people, like, that there was just a giant sell-off by people that own like the vast majority of Bitcoin, because they sell it off, the price drops down, people that don't know what they're doing, they're selling off because they're getting scared, and then those people can swoop back in,
get at a good price,
goes back up, and it continues. This shit happened when I was doing research, I was seeing this shit happen in 2013 and 2017. And the unfortunate thing with crypto is, like, cryptocurrency is still, I think, like the whole amount of money that is in crypto is still like 15% of what gold is. So it's still a relatively small thing. And in the grand scheme of things, like, it'll probably even be worth more than that in the future. But as of right now, it's not going anywhere. So, you know what I mean? Like, and Elon Musk saying stuff now and then, it's like Elon Musk saying that he's going to put a halt on accepting Bitcoin as a way to purchase Tesla, because of the way that it affects the environment and the energy consumption. You're telling me someone as smart as Elon Musk wasn't aware of how Bitcoin mining and everything like that worked when he first was, pushing all this shit? Like, he knows what he's doing. And it's an interesting thing as well. Like, you see him pumping Dogecoin and everything like that. Dogecoin to the moon. He wants to do this shit with Dogecoin, and everyone's like, Elon, and I'm really just kind of reiterating stuff that I'm seeing online, but I didn't really think of it like this. Is like Dogecoin was basically useless until people decided that it isn't useless, and especially with anything like this, that's the determining factor. People were like, I want to put my money in this, and now it's worth something. The market cap is in the billions. It's at one point was worth more than fucking Starbucks. So that is what gives it legitimacy. But in a sense, it has less utility and it has less real world use and value. So think of like how much more valuable Ethereum and Bitcoin and these other projects are in comparison to Dogecoin. It would make sense for someone like Elon Musk, who's so influential, to hype up Dogecoin. Everybody put your money here so we can go and buy the stuff that actually can make a difference with the big money. And we'll fucking get you guys to, I'm on your side. And for the people, Elon Musk, Dogecoin, make it being influential, get everybody put their money over here to something that's basically not really that useful unless people figure out a way to make it useful and they actually start accepting it as a way to, as a form of currency or whatever. And we'll go fucking buy the Ethereum and we'll buy the fucking BNB, we'll buy the Cardano, the Bitcoin, all that shit. And you guys can ride Doge.
That's why I see, and this goes back to, I think, last episode or the episode before where I spoke about like, so you're definitely like way more in tune, and you're definitely right too, that if you get into the right thing at the right time early on, like there is a huge profitability, a possibility there for you. But like, if you get too into this shit, you can get wrapped in that at the wrong time. You know what I mean? And not know, but still believe the hype is there. Like I remember I made a little bit of money on GameStop. Now GameStop stock has almost zero utility because GameStop is basically doesn't have a reason to exist. You know what I mean? Other than selling consoles, because all games are sold online now. You don't buy discs, you buy controllers and you buy consoles. You know what I mean? So why do you really need to go anywhere other than Walmart for that? So why does GameStop exist? But that stock price went through the roof, and that was kind of just a proof of point thing that was made by people online as to, like here's what's going on in the market. People are short selling things and blah blah blah, and they're just trying to stick a middle finger up to the game. But there's a lot of things that are out there that don't really have a utility, that basically use the hype train to get the money up, and then people pull the plug. Basically a smaller scale version of what you just said with Elon Musk. Like, he knows what he's doing, although to a certain degree I think that he probably doesn't, because like think of all the shit that he's got his money wrapped up in his head wrapped up in. He can only do so much. Like he might not realize sometimes the statement's going to make such an impact, but I'm sure definitely sometimes he does.
Well, he himself and his infatuation with Dogecoin and the success that Dogecoin has seen has, like, we can't deny the fact that his tweets and his opinion, whether it's something he actually believes in or not, hasn't influenced the market to a degree where people have made a fuck ton of money. Even like and it's created different projects. The Shiba Inu coin, at the market cap that they're at right now and the price that they're at right now, when Dogecoin was at that market cap and that price, they weren't listed on very trustworthy exchanges like crypto.com and everything and place in these different places. Like now it's spurring up coins that are kind of following the same kind of branding as Dogecoin, but actually have a little bit more utility. And there's a lot of people that believe that the Shiba coin will be worth more and more usable than Dogecoin in the future, because they have like their own Shiba swap thing coming out, and they're a project that is actually having some moving components to it. But yeah, all this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all speculation. It's all. Some of it's all hype. Some of it has a game plan. A lot of them do have good game plans. But my suggestion would be, if someone wants to get invested into crypto or into stocks or whatever in general, like especially in crypto now is a great time because everything is on fucking. Is that
so new, man? Like I was gonna say before, like the other day, 2 to 3 weeks ago, my Ethereum was worth, I think, almost $1,700. And I've bought a little bit since then, maybe like $30-$40 worth. But after it was down, like at one point the other day, my Ethereum that was once worth almost $1,700 was worth $750. And when I first looked at it, it made me want to throw up. But my second thought was buy more, because now I'm getting twice as much for my dollar. You know
100%.
I mean?
You would want it to get to where it's at when it dips, because when you see it on a super bull trend going way up, you're like, fuck, I wish I had more, because that would be up in profit more now. So this gives you an opportunity as it goes up and it needs to consolidate and go back down, because too many people were in the profits. They wanted to take profits, and that creates a trend to make it go down. Now, though, more people are going to want to get in at a lower price. You can expand your position. You can buy it up and then wait for it to go back up.
It lets you get in now like you got in months ago. You know what I mean? So like you can miss an opportunity, and you can see an upward trend like we saw there for the last, month and a half of Ethereum just going through the roof, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, is ever
everything was going through the roof, and that was the thing, because it just was like on this upward trajectory where it almost gets, it's like, from what my research and what I'm seeing, this is healthy. This was expected. This shit has happened before.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This has happened before. Like Bitcoin has seen highs and lows. Like Bitcoin has seen 40% drops before, and then it went up like
just on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
and it's just they're going to have lower, higher lows.
But it was like it hit like $25,000 or $20,000. I remember seeing articles about it, and this is like back when I was way before I even thought about investing in crypto.
It was like 2017, I think.
No, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe there's like a temporary crash. There's all these temporary crashes that happens because something will happen that influences the market, and then it tumbles down a bit. But then you see people buy up, and it just goes back up. You know what I mean? Like to see like Bitcoin hit like 20,000 as a peak, and then to see it hit almost 60, or to see it hit 60,000. You know what I mean? Is just proof of that. When this happens, there is a rebound, and the rebound is bigger than the dip. And so if you have basically the stones to throw more money on it when it's in the dip, like
everybody if this is the time, like if anyone already has a stake, any kind of crypto or whatever, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, this is definitely a great time to go in a little bit further and take advantage of the prices it's at right now, because it's inevitable that those projects especially are going to continue rising up. And that's a fact. But there's also, but it's interesting too, because it's like regardless of these crashes, and this is all across the board. And now that I'm in like these groups on Telegram and stuff, and I was saying to you before, there's this YouTuber Jay Talks Crypto. I'd recommend you guys to go check him out if you guys are interested in kind of what we're talking about here. But he had a Telegram group, and he's really tapped in with like the developers of a lot of these coins that are coming up that actually have a logical use case and utility and everything. And he just kind of exploded on YouTube. Like I started seeing him pop up on my YouTube homepage. He had like 10,000 subscribers. Now he's at like 42,000. And with a lot of these YouTubers in the crypto and investment space, their subscribers are tapped in. They're watching every video they're uploading, so they have a really high engagement rate. So 40,000 might not sound like a big following, but he has a very engaged following. But he has this Telegram group where there's just people talking in it all day. What are you invested in? I just found out about this one. Here's this thing. And then he'll go on a few times a day, and he'll do like a little, just conversation with everybody. And I haven't turned the notifications off because it blows my phone up all day, but it's nice to just kind of scroll through, and I get presented with projects that are kind of new and have a lot of potential right off the bat. But this is still a thing. There's still stuff in the crypto space right now that, although Bitcoin is down, which causes everything to go down, there is certain projects that still pop up and, can still do a quick little jump and everything. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I would advise people to definitely do their research on it before they get into it. The stereotypical disclaimer: we are not financial advisors. But
yeah, man, I'm stupid as fuck, but you're also stupid as fuck if you don't get in right now, because it's just everything's a baby. Yeah. I mean? This is all. And I want to also, nothing is truthfully utilized. Like even if you look at the top of the ladder at Bitcoin, like it's not, like when you can look at Bitcoin and look at your country's dollar right next to each other, that's when it's fully utilized. And that's not happening with Bitcoin. So it's not happening with any of these other cryptocurrencies. And that's where I really see it going, is where in some sense, these cryptocurrencies are going to have a serious value in competition with the value of $1 in your country. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna actually be able to use it, and it's just, you know, like Elon was using Bitcoin as payment, but now he's not because of whatever. You know, you know more than me the utilization of Ethereum. It's moving in that direction, and the fact that we're like barely on the front step of that just goes to show like how much of a baby this thing really is. Like when, like I just saw a comment a little while ago, like, oh, I could see Ethereum going up to $8,000 a piece. It was at 6. I think it's going to go beyond that.
Canadian,
well,
yeah.
Sorry, so like 5.2 maybe, but like it's going to go beyond that, or 5.1.
Well, just hit under like 2K US earlier today.
It just hit like 2,100 a minute ago.
Yeah, this is a great time. You're getting a much larger quantity from putting any amount in than you would have been getting like 2 weeks ago. So definitely a good time to get in with that. But yeah, and the big appeal when it comes to cryptocurrency is that it's decentralized and there is no hidden transactions and there's no middleman. It's just from one person to the next, and it's all recorded and it's public information on the blockchain. You could see it for any cryptocurrency. You could see on whatever website that you choose to go and do the research on, like you could see who has the biggest stake in any crypto. You can see what percentage of all of the circulating supply that person owns, how much it's worth, how much tokens they have, and you can click and you can see all the transactions every time someone buys and sells any of them. So there's just complete transparency with pretty much everything to that extent anyway. Like if you go on this website, like everything that's exchanged on the BNB, which is one of the blockchains that all these projects are on, you can go on the site, BSC scan, and you could search up any project that's on that network, and you could see how many times people are buying it and when they're selling it. And yeah, it's super interesting. But I want to just take a quick second here to shout out. So I got into this, and then we'll move on from the crypto topic here and investing and everything. But I got into this last night. I saw this here. I threw a very small amount of money into it, but it's called Dark Unicorn. I'm just going to give them a shout out here. Their ticker symbol is DUNI. And right now, like last night, their market cap was 100,000. Now it is 235,000. I'm looking at and it's funny, all these smaller projects that have a potential, some of them don't, whatever, you can all see like their charts and everything and their market cap and their total supply on this website called PooCoin. Which is pretty funny. PooCoin, yeah. But that's like the go-to one that everyone looks at, PooCoin.app. But if I'm looking on here, but the thing is with this one is it's like kind of like Bitcoin. They only have a supply of 21 million because most of these other projects have kind of almost like a limited supply, where this one, it's not the case. And it only launched last night. And from what I'm like, they just made their Twitter today. Like they even follow me. And I'm in their Telegram group. And there's 437 members in it right now. But that's what kind of makes me interested, is like there seems like there's people want to push this, and they're posted on Reddit. They're like trying to get listed on this exchange, that exchange, and another cool thing with a lot of these coins, and this one as well, it's all, you get paid like dividends in a stock, because it's like for a lot of the incentive for people to invest in these cryptos is like they reward you every time there's a transaction done, whether somebody buys or sells. You get a small percentage of that back onto your position. So you might put in $20, but you're not good. Like whatever you get for that $20 will still increase as long as people are buying it. It like rewards the holders and create the incentive for people to keep cool. Holding on to it.
Yeah, we definitely need to go for a run. And you show me how to set this shit up, because I could watch a video. My problem is that I just don't have fucking time in the day to like. I do have time in the day, but it's like different. And this goes way back to the beginning of what we were talking about here. Actually, I meant to bring this up earlier. Is like how, like not well, like 4 years ago, not 4 years ago, slightly over 4 years ago, I was in the same position in terms of free time as you. Where you could take advantage of that and apply that properly. You know what I mean? Like wake up and be like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. So like for me to do that now, it's like I have to also maintain my input to a family, you know what I mean? Whereas like my slice of the pie in terms of like my time to myself in the day is much smaller now. So like I have to cram whatever, like I got to work out today. That's not typical. You know what I mean? Like it's just not, you can't just jam that in there, and you're very efficient with like where you could blow a lot of time doing fuck all, but like, and I'm sure that you'd spend some time doing nothing, but you use a good amount of your time to do something positive, you know what I mean, for the next day. Whereas a lot of people that are in the same position as you, don't have any kids, have probably a lot more financial freedom than some in your position, don't even take advantage of that. Like me and Emily were talking about that earlier, because like our, you know, backgrounds growing up are different. Like I came from a, like my grandfather when he was growing up had like nothing. He grew up on a farm, and then he became a dentist, and then he just made some smart business moves where like he was the correctional facility in Sydney. He would do all of their dental practice, you know, like a flat rate per patient, and just he just made a shitload of money. You know what I mean? So like when I was growing up, I didn't realize some of the advantages that I had and the time that I had. But if you really take advantage of that while you have it, like that shit's super important. Like you have this like time frame that I don't think a lot of people focus on, because they're like, oh yeah, you should be young and you should fucking enjoy yourself. And that's totally true. But I feel like there's a point in time when you're young where like you kind of understand that there's a trajectory to your life that you control to some degree. Because I don't think everything is totally controllable. But I think the small percentage of your life that you can control, like there's a lot of leverage that you can create for your future self there that people don't take advantage of.
Yes, I don't think it's as time consuming as a lot of people think that it is. Like it's just a matter of if you want to be a
Small
disciplined
things,
person.
dude. It can be going for a run every day. Like you go for a run every day, and it's like good, you know, for you to like clear your thoughts. I remember when I used to go to the gym, like I was just in my head the whole time. Like I was looking at people and I wasn't even seeing them. I was like thinking thoughts to myself loudly, you know what I mean, consumed in my own time, which is something that I don't have a whole lot of now. I will have more of later, but like people don't take advantage of that when they do have it. And then I think that they get into my position, and then they go through like a whole big portion of their youth not taking advantage of things, and then looking back and being like, oh, I didn't take advantage of that. I definitely did take advantage of that to some extent.
Well, you still are right now. This is
And
a
I
time
am
period.
now. Like I do take the time that I can. I could probably be more efficient, and everybody can always be more efficient, but like,
Well, you have you have the family, and you're working, and then you do this when you make time for like if we need a thumbnail for a video, or obviously we're doing the podcast. Like you sent me over that thing for the album cover yesterday and everything. Like you definitely are as efficient as you possibly
oh
can
yeah,
be.
it's
Your position in
harder.
life is mentally taxing, definitely. But I
It's
think that
harder,
it,
but I think that I'm just saying, like the time that you do have prior to getting into that situation, like having a
yeah, don't
family
take
and
it,
stuff,
don't take it for
don't yeah,
granted.
like you cannot take that for granted. Like that's some crazy powerful time in your life. Like think about like, even so you're still in that position basically. Like you obviously, you know, you have your car, you got your phone bill, you got a credit card, so you got things that you pay for. But like think about like, I think I started investing like 2 or 3 months before I started telling you about it. Think about if we had got into that like 2-3 years prior, you know what I mean?
Well, it's
Actually,
never too late,
actually
man.
we would have lost a ton of money, but
Depending on where we pulled up, but I'm sure we get some profits. But like you were saying though, like I think it'd be important. Like I think that it wouldn't
it's just
hurt,
when you're young, like you got to take advantage. You got to actually listen to this kind of stuff that we're talking about, because we're only, you know, intermediately knowledgeable on you know, investing topics and things like that. But it's like that's knowledge you can gain in a year. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And it just depends
What
on
can
if
you
you're
do
interested in something or not, in a subject or
if you're
not. It's
10
like,
if you're 10 years deep, you know what I mean? But after you're, you know, 16, you know, you're only 3 years older than us, but you got 10 years in the game. You know what I mean? Like if you're 16, you're paying attention to this right now. Like you have ultimate freedom.
Oh
You have
yeah,
all kinds of money at your disposal.
yeah.
You know what I mean? All the money that you're going to go spend on weed or liquor on the weekend or fucking this, that, the other stupid things, smoking cigarettes or whatever the fuck it is, whatever your thing is. Like, you can use that money to make leverage for your future self where you're actually going to need that. You know what I mean?
And the thing is too, it's not necessarily about how much money you make. You don't need to have a lot of money to put in $100 into a company or something that you think is an opportunity, because you
Even
can
if you,
make that money
even if
back.
you lose money,
Keep
ownership
building
is
it.
leverage. You know what I mean? Like, if you own, you know what I mean? Something goes down, like we were saying before, something goes down, you buy more.
You
Now
buy
you own
more
more of
because
that thing.
you believed in what you purchased in the first place. So it shouldn't phase you when it goes down, because what comes down must go up. Which
Yeah,
some
unless a
people can
company's
be
gonna
like,
get
yeah.
completely wiped off the board, like
And why would you
you're
even
you're
invest
you're
that money in
winning when
the
it
first
goes
place?
down, you buy.
Yeah, but the thing is, and whether it's saving your money, investing your money into anything, like
Or even
I'm doing
investing
that.
your time. Like I was
Investing,
saying, with you running, with you working out, like whatever it is that you're gonna do, like you got all this time when you're young, man. You got to put that in. Like you can put in the work early. I mean, Gary Vee is a huge proponent to this. You know what I mean? Is like putting in that work early and you just eating shit. Like, even if it like,
yeah, there's nothing wrong with something taking a bit for it to come into fruition for you. Like, how many episodes are we gonna make of this podcast before an episode even gets 1,000 views? Like, and I'm okay with the process of that, because when you get to these points, like with my music, like when I got to certain levels where I thought that, like, oh, this is something that, for example, like when I did the show The Savoy, my first thought afterwards was like, I need to do another show like this in a different city and like get to that point. But it's like, think about it and be appreciative of the fact that you even did a show to this extent that was your show, that had this amount of people come out for you. Because 3 years ago, I did like 3 years prior to when I did that, I did a show at like a cafe. That was my show. And there was like 30 people. And I was like, this is dope. And 2 years before that show, I would have loved to have done that. So the thing is like, understand where you are in life and think. And if you're, and like, because you're always moving forward for the most part. Even if you feel like you're in a shitty situation, you're going to learn from that
you're
situation.
always you're
It's going to
always moving
benefit you.
forward, even if you're moving backward. Time is a
Yeah.
one-way
You could
street.
be,
You know what I mean? Like,
you could be catapulting.
no, I just mean, well, yeah, you can be, but I just mean you're always moving forward in terms of time. So it's like, you got to realize, as soon as you can realize that, you got to take advantage of it, because no matter what you want to do, say, buy, whatever the fuck, like, you can't take that back. Time is like golden. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
100%. And it's very easy
even
to commit a lot of time to something productive when you give a shit about what you're putting your time towards. If it's something that you don't like and you're forcing yourself to do it, that's going to be very taxing on you mentally. But if it's something like, for me, writing music or learning about investing or going for runs or doing this podcast, these are all things that I receive joy from doing. So it is effortless for me to do it. If it was something I hated, I wouldn't want to do it. But it just so happens to go hand in hand that these things benefit me, and they can push me forward in the right direction in life. And I'm happy that I can know there's things that, and there's certain things that people like, certain people might not know what that thing is for them yet. But I think what I would say to encourage them is to just continue looking for those things and just keep an open mind, and you'll find it. And like we were saying before, like, sometimes things take time, and
sometimes you're fast too. Like, I mean, I don't know that you wrote for like a year before you even recorded anything, right?
mm-hmm.
I remember, like, for me, like, and for example, like, I was just gonna say this before the thought slips my mind, like, the time that you invest in something can benefit you in the future. Like, say, if you wanted to stop making music right now, the audience that you have gained can grant you access to a higher level of perception in a different field. You know what I mean? Like, you can take advantage of what you built off of. And like what I was saying before, like, I want to start running because I want to, better my health. Like, I'm still in, like, from the time that I put in, from the time I was like, and this is the thing, I was saying, you took a year before you started recording something. I remember going to the gym the first day. I remember my first day because my great grandmother died like a couple days after I started. I had 2 days in the gym, and I remember and then I got upset at school. I broke my hand. That was the same week I broke my hand. It was the first week that I started going to the gym. So I went to the gym for 2 days, and I broke my hand and couldn't go to the gym for like a month or a month and a half. And from those 2 days, I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And when I went back, I just, like, my hand's still fucked up to this day because I think I started too early. I took my cast off and started working out before it was even fully healed. My hand's still fucked up, but I was into that shit, and that pays in its own dividends. Whereas like now I don't have the time to like physically work myself a lot, but I still have strength from that. You know what I mean? Like I still have some of that shape left. You know what I mean? That I built years ago that I haven't had the serious time to work on in like 2 years. You know what I mean? Like that you maintain some of the progress that you've made somewhere else that carries you forward. Like I think now I'm like, oh, my lungs are going to shit. Like imagine if I didn't do that work. If I never, you know what I mean? Like I was starting to get fat when
Maybe
I started going to the
in a
gym.
bit of a even worse situation when it
I'd
comes
be
to
in even
but the
worse
thing is
situation.
too, like,
So like you gotta appreciate.
you're already realizing that you want to go for runs now. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, fingers, knock on wood, you're going to live a relatively long life. So you realizing at this age, like, yes, okay, you worked out when you were younger. So therefore, if you didn't do that, like you were saying, like you kind of find like
I'd be in way worse shape right now.
Exactly, but you already planted those seeds in your teenage years, and now a few years have gone by, and you're realizing, you're reassuring that importance to yourself. So you're going to make the effort to go, and over time, the first run is probably going to be terrible. The first week of running is going to be shitty, but gradually, it's going to get a little bit easier. And to being able to identify that even right now is going to pay off for you as you continue to age and move along in life.
Time is important. Spending your time is important.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing too, when you said like, how committed you were to the gym in high school, and you said that, obviously, you probably aren't in that same form that you were in back then, but you still kind of have some of that muscle remaining even to this day, even if you don't work out every day. And that's kind of like, there's certain things when you put enough time into something that you just never forget. Like even to this day, when I was in elementary school and junior high, when I was my obsession and my entire existence was committed towards trying to keep up the speed, like stay up at a pace where I could eventually become a professional soccer player. That was my first passion. That's what I was obsessed with. I would make myself practice 4 hours a day. And to this day, I can still juggle a soccer ball fucking 100 times in a row.
I heard an ad on the radio earlier that can't remember who's looking, but it was like a radio ad where they were looking for like in Cape Breton, like people to coach soccer. And I was like, it would be an odd path, but I was like, Mitch could like, you're like the right person to do that shit because you're great with kids, and you were great at soccer too, man. I feel like that would be.
You think I should just coach a soccer team on the side? I would just voluntarily coach a soccer team, bro.
For real though, I feel like that would be like a killer thing. I feel like you're the type of person that would be good at teaching things to people. You know what I mean? And you have a positive attitude about things. So it's like, and you're good at soccer. I was like, I heard the ad on the radio, and me and Emily were both talking about it. I was like, Mitch should fucking do that, like right now.
What is it like? Is it like a paying gig?
I would assume as much.
What was it like? Just like recreational soccer? Most of that stuff is volunteer.
I have no idea, but it would. If it was a paid gig, I would definitely do it. That would be fucking solid for you.
That'd be fun, man. Like a little summer soccer.
Think about it. You're teaching like you were playing what, like 16 to 18-year-old fucking grade soccer at like 12 years old. Like you could fucking teach these kids to be killers.
It's definitely not it's definitely not my path in life.
But I mean, just as a thing right now, especially during COVID, like they were looking for people to coach it because I feel like COVID kind of restricted things, and it's an outdoor activity. I was like, yeah, nobody wants to do this, but I was like, Mitch would probably actually be the person to do this.
Yeah, maybe. I still love soccer, man. I mean, and that's the thing. It's kind of like your passion for bodybuilding and stuff. Like you still deep down, like anytime you probably work out, you're remembering the motivation that you had back when you were obsessing over the goals that you had when you were going to the gym every day, and it kind of probably brings that shit back a bit. Like, because
Yeah.
I know whenever I kick a soccer ball around, I think of when I was making myself do this by myself 4 hours a day, because there was no one that wanted to play soccer with me for 4 hours, because my coach at the time, he instilled, and I think I said this on a previous episode, but yeah, he basically put in my head that, like, if I'm not even like 4 hours a day is like entry level to maybe get like kind of up the ladder and play some level of professional. But he was like, there's people in England that are your age that are playing 8 and 10 hours a day. And I'm like, that's fuck. Like, I have to fucking entertain myself kicking a ball around for that long. Like, that's crazy. But at that age, and I think that that's kind of like the initial stepping point where I kind of realized that. And I have a line about this in a song on my upcoming EP that I'd submitted off yesterday for a release. I'm going to put out the release date probably next week or something with the cover sometime. And it'll be in June. But I have a line that's like basically like, it's hard to. I learned that at a younger age that the work, if you want to, I forget. It was like the work that you put in is whatever you take is like a result of the work you put in. It's a lot to understand that at a younger age. It's not up to fate or something like that. So like, basically anything that you desire, you're capable of achieving. As fucking corny as this sounds, then that's, as redundant as people, as they redundantly said of a phrase that is, that's a really weird way of phrasing that, but that is the pure truth. You could literally do anything if you have the mental discipline and capability of just committing yourself for hours upon hours over a span of time, and not to get distracted, not to get discouraged when it doesn't go your way right off the bat. Then you will progress in any field and receive some sort of success. And basically, I think that really at the end of the day, working towards anything is really all mental. And it's you have to want to do it, you want to improve, and that's just going to be your natural commitment to putting time into it. And
that's a huge thing, is like actually putting goals into place and then working towards them. And that was one of the things that I was talking about earlier, where I used to put notes on my wall, you know what I mean? Because I would, as I was learning, basically the main thing that I learned was how to manipulate my body weight. You know what I mean? Like I just got strong because, like, I remember the first time going to the gym, like working out with Riley, one of our friends. And I actually went with a friend of his and a friend of mine now also too, Mason. And I remember him saying to me, like, start with the bar and you put the 25-pound plates on and work your way up from there. And I was like, I don't want to start with the bar.
I remember starting with the bar when I first started going to the gym too. It makes you just feel like
nothing, right? Yeah. Well,
the first steps
are very unmotivating. But once you get past that, I got past that my first day, because they were like, yeah, start with the bar. I got under the bar and I was like, okay, well, the bar is 45 or 50 pounds. Like, it's heavy, but it's like it's nothing. You know what I mean? In terms of what you're capable of achieving. But I was like, okay, this has some weight to it. But I was like, just throw those 25 pounds on there. And I remember just from that first statement that Mason gave me, when he said, start with the bar and then you'll get to the 25 pounds. And then I started with the bar on my first set. Second set, I said, put 25 pounds on. And I felt what that was like. And I was like, oh, this is what I have to work up to, and I can do it right now. I can kill this. And that feeling in that moment in my first day was all I needed to just drive me into just wanting to destroy this process. And then I created goals. It was like, okay, so I can do 25 pounds. And then I would see Jeff, that was in my class at the time. He was a year and a half older than me. I think he might have failed a grade or something. He was in my grade, but he shouldn't have been. And so he got into the gym when he was like 13, 14 years old. So he was like a plate and 25, you know what I mean, for like a working set. And I was like, okay, I was like, well, he can throw a plate on like it's nothing. I need to be able to throw a plate on. So I went from the 25. I was like, how quick can I get to a plate? And it took me like 2 months. And I was like, I remember running to him after I benched a plate for the first time, like 45 pounds on each side of the bar. And I was like, fuck yeah. And now when I look back at it, like if I was just to go to the gym right now and just like stretch, I would throw a plate on there. You know what I mean? I'm just like it's nothing. But like you have to have a goal in place. And actually the biggest and strongest that I ever was, there was a bench press competition that I'll have to go to my grandmother's and get the trophy. I have the first place in my weight class in this bench press competition. And I knew it was upcoming. And this goes back to that thing I was talking about at the beginning of the episode where I was like, you know, people would socialize at the gym and stuff. And I was never into that because I remember Perry started setting up these bench press competitions or the like weightlifting competitions. And I didn't really participate in it for a while. Then one time I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this because I started working on my bench because I heard about it. So like subconsciously I started like pushing it a little bit. But after I started that, there was another guy that we went to high school with. He was a year younger than us that started off at the gym. He was kind of chubby. And then within like a year, he was like crazy. And I remember I made pretty crazy gains in my first year because I was so dedicated to it. Whereas like I knew people that were going to the gym for a year and didn't really make that kind of progress, not in terms of like what my goals were, you know what I mean, putting actual size on my body. But this kid just like blew my first year out of the water. And I was like, fuck, like this kid was in my weight class benching against me. But I remember every day I would go to the gym and like there'd be like 6 guys around him watching him bench, like they're all talking to him, and it's the big, you know, social club around the bench press. And they used to drive me insane. I would go to the gym, put my headphones on, I wouldn't talk to anybody. But in that month, I upped my bench press like 45 pounds, which depending on how much you're pushing, may or may not be a huge jump, but that was like a huge jump for me because I had a goal. I was like, I need to beat everybody in my weight class. You know what I mean? So I was like, I need to up my bench. And one of the people in that weight class was actually, you know, Jeff, that had started the gym like almost 2 years prior to me. So I was like my goals going into that competition was to come in third place. Like I wanted to just place. Third place was like the bottom. And I was like, I just want to place in this competition. And then I ended up upping my bench press like 45 pounds, and kind of by luck, people overestimating themselves. Like if you missed a lift, like if you couldn't bench it, you would like basically miss your round. Like if you attempted something but didn't get it, you wouldn't get that. You know what I mean? So through other people overestimating themselves and me kind of pushing myself over the edge, but then underestimating myself, I actually won that bench press competition, first place. So it's like when you have a goal in mind, that was a long story for me to get to the point of like when you actually place a goal and follow that, like nothing can really stop you. You just need to work towards that goal.
And I think you're just generally happier as a person too when you know that you're working towards something and you're genuinely interested in what you're working towards, because the thought of getting to the destination is what motivates you in the first place. But along the way, and I think that's the thing, is like when you get to where you wanted to, when you achieve what you were working towards, you're like, damn, you know, this feels great and it's definitely worth it. But then, you know, the type of person that always thinks, and I know you probably are too, is like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Like, and that's the thing. It's just the day-to-day activities. If you love what you're doing and you love what you're doing that is required to be done to get to where you want to go, then the entire process will be enjoyable even throughout the ups and downs, you know, like, and because if you are genuinely committed to the end result, then you kind of know that just any kind of you know, obstacles along the way are just part of the process, because nothing is there's no flawless journey when it comes to anything, you know. And yeah, this is I think this has been a great episode, man. I took a photo and put it on my Instagram story when you were in the middle of that conversation, just kind of saying like how I think this is probably we're having some of the best conversations and most genuinely honest and useful conversations that we've had on this podcast to date. And I think that it becomes so much naturally, it flows more, so much more naturally when we're having conversations like this, because this is the type of conversation we would be having if we were just hanging out. And there's not really any kind of guideline to follow. And these are the type of conversations that we would just have on a day-to-day basis that weren't being recorded, that made me think that this would be a good idea to record these conversations and put it out as a podcast in the first place. Because I think that there's opinions and ways of thinking and explaining our approaches to shit that I think could be useful to some people when we share them. So I'm glad we got some stories out.
I think a lot of like, I mean, we were listening to Mark Norman's podcast the other day when we were in your car, and they weren't speaking about anything in particular. It was like, from what I remember of what we listened to, it was like some, one of the two guys telling a story. You know what I mean? Just like, I was telling the story about Silly String earlier. You know what I mean? It's just like stuff that happened. It doesn't necessarily, and I feel like if you're relying too much on topics, the personality isn't there. Like we have, just looking back, let's just see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 12 topics that we had that we didn't even touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not going to at this point. You know what I mean?
But we
I'm fine with that.
Better conversation. I mean, that might create clips, but it's like, I hate comparing to it, but if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, like he's not like he obviously has, certain things he wants to touch on, but most of it is just open conversation about whatever that might be. You know what I mean? It's not super guided or anything. You know what I mean? It's just talking. You know what I mean? Shooting the shit, and whoever wants to listen listens. Whoever agrees with your kind of mindset listens. That's what it is.
100%, man. And this is a format that I'm totally comfortable with, doing moving forward. And I think there's a lot of different clips that are included in this episode. I think there's some really useful shit that is that I think has a lot of value if it's shared on its own from this episode. Absolutely. And I think it feels better when it kind of flows naturally like that. So I'm super happy with this episode and everything. And that's pretty much the whole point of the topics and everything, is to create some kind of structure within the show and also know that these are relevant subjects that we could produce clips from. But at the end of the day, if we're just talking, I mean, chances are we're gonna say something useful. So that makes it clip worthy, and it can produce more content just like that. But yeah, man. And this is the first episode where I didn't drink any beer. So the shout out to the Monster Energy sugar free for fueling me through it. And I feel great.
It started hitting me a while ago, and I kind of forgot that I was drinking beer. I started feeling like strange, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? I was like, why do I feel weird? Am I getting sick? I was like, oh yes, I'm drinking beer.
That's a fact, man. On that note, I think we're at the 2-hour mark now, so I'm comfortable with Absolutely. Wrapping it up. So then next
week we may get our big guest on.
I might get a big guest, yeah. We do got some guests. It's gonna be exciting when we can start opening it up to guests. Like I said, like in the last few episodes, comment who you would like to see us have on the show. If you have anyone that you think would be just an entertaining person to have a conversation with, let us know. They could be of any profession. I'm down to really open it up, and I'm excited for this journey, man. We're 9 episodes in, which is like almost 20 hours of content, but we're really just getting started. So I'm excited to just watch this project grow gradually over time and see where it goes and enjoy every minute as we're doing it.
Absolutely. All right.
Swag, bro. Well, on that note, see y'all next week.